The story begins with something so simple, a child holding a toy. It's a picture of innocence, of a world where laughter and love should fill the air. But when that toy is broken and the child's mother is struck, the fragile illusion of safety shatters. In that single, trembling cry, "They broke my toy and hit my mum," the pain of countless unheard voices is echoed. It's a moment that reveals how cruelty finds its way even into the smallest corners of life, where it least belongs. The child's tears remind us that violence doesn't just wound bodies. It scars hearts and shapes futures. Innocence, once broken, cannot be repaired so easily. And in that haunting cry lies a truth too heavy to ignore. When the world stops protecting its children, it loses its very soul. That was the moment when silence was no longer an option, but sometimes it only takes a single moment to awaken something powerful inside us. When the bikers heard that child's cry, it wasn't just a sound, it was a plea that pierced through the noise of everyday life. Injustice, when witnessed up close, changes people. It forces them to see beyond their own world and confront what's been wrong all along. That tiny voice, trembling with fear, carried more truth than any speech or law ever could. It reminded everyone that turning away makes us part of the cruelty we refuse to stop. The pain in that child's words became a mirror, reflecting a society to grow comfortable with silence. And in that reflection, the bikers saw not just a victim, but a reason to act. Sometimes, witnessing injustice doesn't just open our eyes. It gives us the courage to finally rise. But the bikers had always been seen as rough and rebellious, the kind of people others crossed the street to avoid. Yet, in that moment, something changed. Beneath the leather and noise were hearts that still knew what it meant to protect, to stand up when others turned away. They didn't need a command or a leader. The child's cry was enough to unite them. As engines roared to life, their strength took on a new meaning. It was no longer about power or pride, but purpose. They became the guardians no one expected, the kind of heroes who rise not for glory, but because compassion demanded it. In their unity, there was a quiet defiance, a message that even those misunderstood by society can carry the deepest sense of justice. True courage often wears unexpected faces, and that day it rode on to wheels toward what was right. Anger, in its rawest form, can destroy or transform it. All depends on where it's directed. The bikers could have chosen rage, could have let their fury explode without purpose, but instead they turned that fire into motion, steering it towards something greater than themselves. The sound of their engines became a promise, not of vengeance, but of justice. Each mile they rode was powered by a collective heartbeat that refused to let cruelty stand. Unchallenged, it was no longer about what had been done, but about what needed to be made right. The child's tears had become their compass, guiding them toward the source of the wrong, the factory, the symbol of everything that had gone unchecked for too long. That ride wasn't an escape. It was a declaration. When pain transforms into purpose, it becomes unstoppable. And that's exactly what they had become, unstoppable. The factory stood tall and silent, its chimneys breathing out the smoke of greed and exploitation. It wasn't just a building, it was a symbol of everything that crushed the powerless while feeding the powerful. Behind those walls were stories of pain, of hands that worked without rest, of voices that were silenced whenever they dared to speak. The bikers knew this wasn't only about one child or one mother. It was about every family broken by the same cruelty, every soul weighed down by injustice disguised as industry. As they neared the gates, they weren't facing machines or metal, but the embodiment of corruption itself. The factory represented a system built on the suffering of those who couldn't fight back. And so, when those engines came to a halt, it wasn't just to confront a placeit, was to confront an entire cycle of oppression that had gone on for far too long. In the end, it wasn't the sound of engines or the strength of fists that brought change, it was unity. The bikers stood together, not as individuals, but as a force bound by empathy and conviction. In that moment, they showed that when people rise as one, even the mightiest walls of injustice can begin to tremble. The child's tears had sparked something larger than anger. They had awakened humanity's most powerful weapon, compassion. As the community gathered behind them, courage replaced fear, and silence turned into a voice that could no longer be ignored. Hope, once buried beneath the weight of cruelty, began to breathe again. What started as pain transformed into purpose, and purpose became power. Because when hearts beat together for what's right, even the smallest cry can echo loud enough to change the world. And that is exactly what it did.